Just quieten down, baby.
Per capita export value.
Libraries. Minister, are you embarrassed by your behavior today?
There's a lot of bleeding hearts around.
Do you have the fortitude or the gonads to stand up and come across here and say that to me, you son of a bitch?
Just watch me.
He certainly went too far, Mr. Speaker, when I saw him stick his tongue out.
Contemptuous disregard.
More than a slab of bacon talking here.
The disappointment you also feel is my responsibility.
I lost my temper.
What is the nature of your thoughts?
The word was F-A-R-T.
Hello and welcome to Canadian Politics is Boring. My name is Rhys Waters and with me is Jesse Harley, who's dancing and not saying anything. And we have an amazing guest. It's Craig from Canadian History X.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Is it Canadian History X or Canadian History Aches?
X. Yeah.
It is EHX,
a lot of people
like
say a lot of people kind of say the AX, but it's a reference to American History X, so I always just say Canadian History X.
A brilliant and brutal film to inspire.
Yeah, it shares nothing. It shares nothing with that film.
I've never seen it.
It's intense.
If you want to witness curb stomping, then it's the movie.
Oh boy.
A lot of swastikas too. Yeah, a lot of things go on in that movie.
I'll let you know if I ever get a Craig. Yeah,
Craig. There's a good chance that our audience already knows your podcast, but you are like the history guy in terms of Canadian podcasts right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's going really well, getting a lot of the content out, and everything keeps going up and up. You know, everything's coming up, Craig. So that's awesome.
Everything's going up, Craig.
That's you're not allowed using your own name in that, man. That's Millhouse. Yeah. Oh, that's exciting for you, man. That's congratulations. Well deserved. You know, how long have you been doing the show for now?
I started doing it kind of a part-time thing back in mid 2019, and then I went just kind of full-time with it in March 2020. So really, I consider through just over 3 years now where it's been like my main focus.
That's amazing.
What does full-time look like for the show?
Full-time looks like...
What does it look like doing a full-time podcast? That's what I want to know. Like, what's...
Well, it's not just the podcast. It's, putting out content on social media and everything. So I get up at 6 a.m. and I start putting up Today in History. I put up polls. Like right now I'm running what's the greatest structure in Canadian history. And so that goes for usually a couple hours. And then I take a break to do about an hour and a half walk. And then the rest of the day is just writing up episodes, working on some TikToks. It goes till about 5 o'clock. So it's just constantly writing up content, researching all of that every day. I usually take like a half day on Friday, sometimes Saturday, but it's like
you're living the podcast.
So it's mostly, but it's like
exactly.
It sounds like it's mostly promoting the hell out of your show.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of putting content up on Twitter and trying to get people, knowing about the show, which is starting to get easier and easier. And just spending a lot of time doing a lot of research, looking through old books and old newspapers, doing interviews, things like that. So each day tends to be different, but I mean, I like it. I love it. I get to work from home. I can't complain at all.
That's awesome, man. Hey, listen, we're gonna Christian you into our show with a new thing that we do with our guests. Okay. A little bit of ASMR.
Oh God, sorry about this.
Oh. Do you know what ASMR is?
I do. Yeah.
Okay, so I'll start, and then you can kind of follow my lead with something. You have to get nice and close in. Turn your mic up. Here's my favorite and all of our audience's favorites.
Every time.
That was me. Okay, Craig, I'm assuming you have something you can do.
Yeah, I'll do something similar. I'll drink from my nice Canadian History X mug.
Got product placement.
Okay. Let's turn up the mic.
So we're going to have a drink of this now.
Can you turn up your mic?
Ooh.
Leave his mic alone.
No. We need the details.
Don't worry if you can't. I can boost it in post just for Jess.
Yeah, I don't think I can. So,
okay.
So
here we go.
Here you go.
Well, those are good.
There you go.
Okay, and I choose not to participate.
Reese won't. He refuses.
So, anyway,
I choose not to dance.
this is a free country, and if I don't want to do ASMR, you can't make me. So,
Fair enough.
so this episode, it's Canada Day.
Yay! Happy Canada
This is
Day!
now, but it's going to be released on Canada Day, and
I know I was going to pretend because I thought you were pretending,
no.
but we're just going
we're
to
just
say like
spoiling
this.
the magic.
We recorded this
peek behind the curtain
earlier.
Like,
and then-
so anyway, and the episode is called "Who Killed Dominion Day." Jesse, do you know what Dominion Day is? I'm guessing Craig does because he pays attention to the world around him.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks. No. I swear to God, I do know
What is
things.
Dominion Day, then?
Okay, just not about history or politics. I know a lot about a lot of other things. As you once said before on a previous podcast, we were guest starring on another podcast, and I went off and off about pharmaceuticals and medication and like neuroscience, and you're like, how come you're not this smart on our show, Jesse? I do know things.
Nobody
okay?
remembers that though. They just know he was a lovable idiot.
I know.
So.
Fucking. I know. I don't even get paid to do this. All right. No, I don't know what Dominion Day is.
So-
no, I don't.
So Dominion Day
I don't.
is an official public holiday to celebrate Canada as a country, or Canada as a dominion, as it was then. And it was launched in 1879 is when it was kind of signed into like law, I guess. Would you call it law? It would have been law, I suppose.
Yeah, I would have. Yeah.
And it comes from Canada it was called the Dominion of Canada. Correct me if I'm wrong, Craig. I might be talking out my ass, but
No, you're absolutely right. Yeah, the Dominion of Canada, because we weren't really fully independent from Britain at the time. You know, Britain still kind of decided most of our major laws. The highest court in the land was in Britain. So yeah.
So they wanted to call, like Johnny MacDonald wanted to call Canada the Kingdom of Canada. But they
That's
thought
cool.
it would piss off America, so they settled on the Dominion of Canada.
It's fucking cool, though. I kind of want us to be the Kingdom of Canada. How cool is that?
It sounds awesome, yeah. But yeah, the Americans, they have their issues with, kings and such. So
Right. Yeah.
So and obviously you get like TD Bank, Toronto Dominion Bank. You've got like the Dominion Observatory.
Oh, that's where
so
that
when you see
comes from.
Dominion in names of things in Canada, it harks back to that old British colonial era. And the name Dominion comes from, it was chosen by somebody called Sir Samuel Leonard Tilley, who was one of the fathers of Confederation.
It's a fucking amazing name.
Sir
What is it
Samuel
again?
Leonard Tilley. I did it with a hammy British accent, if you. And he basically got the idea. He got it from the Bible, and it was. I've never read the Bible. I'm not a Bible-y person. Psalm 70-8.
Bible person.
I don't know. Put that in your Google search; it'll come up. And it basically said,
Right.
I actually I'm here.
"Oh,
Do you already have it?
He shall have dominion also from sea to sea, and from the river unto the ends of the earth." So that's with dominion. Is that right? Did I get that right? I feel like.
Yep, that's
I feel like Craig
100%.
knows
Yeah.
way more than me, and I'm going. Is this? Am I right, Craig? It's good. Okay.
No, you got it.
So,
I'm glad I'm not the only lovable
I know.
idiot today. That's great.
I'm only one.
Join
one
me,
less
Reese.
ahead of Jess.
Join me on this side of the fence. It's nice and warm over here. We have cookies.
I'm a lovable idiot with Google. That's the only difference. So, and apparently, like they used to celebrate Dominion Day. So the Ottawa Citizen on July the 2nd, 1879, they said that it was observed by picnics, cricket matches, and apparently our citizens tore themselves away from the dust and heat of the city, and no public demonstration was arranged. So there were no like parades. Everyone just chilled. I know it is. It's like,
Just
Exactly.
chill day. That's what it should. Yeah. Just get in a hammock. You have a margarita. You know, the whole family's kind of in the backyard. All of them have. Yeah, the kids have margaritas.
you could do it in those days, and cocaine. It was legal. Yeah, yeah.
Totally right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just I don't know if you'd be chilling so much with a backyard full of cocaine and your family. I don't know if that's a chill day, right? But like just massages and like some cotton candy. Go for a walk in the
Opium
park.
dens.
Get really stoned.
There we go.
Exactly right. Yeah, this is Dominion Day sounding great. Just saying. Just have some soup.
At that point, it was good. Yeah. So I mean, there's always everyone. But then in like 1927, they did a thing called Celebration across Canada, and they actually created a booklet called the Order of Proceedings, which was like a guidebook on how you should celebrate. And like
what? Please tell me you have this.
I couldn't find it. It's a 48-page pamphlet illustrated in color containing suggestions for historical pageants, floats, and a tableau for guidance bibliography of Canadian history.
But it tells you how to celebrate?
It's just a guidebook. And it's mainly just things about everyone should pray together and like do what are they doing? Like plant a maple tree and have a large dinner or have a choir of school children sing songs. But also William Lyon Mackenzie King, who was the Prime Minister,
good old
he was a
Mackenzie King.
Presbyterian, edited a booklet that was like very focused on like I guess it would have been focused on his religious views, and it was deemed not acceptable for Roman Catholics. So Roman Catholics weren't supposed to use the booklet. And so.
Oh, wow. That's funny.
So I guess
have you heard of this booklet, Craig?
Actually, no, I haven't heard of this booklet, but it makes sense because he did it. Yeah, in the Canadian West, like Dominion Day was a big deal in the small towns because it was like a break from working the land and all of that. So I can definitely see this thing being passed around and people learning how to celebrate Dominion Day, because also a lot of people, especially in the West, were like a lot of Americans, a lot of new immigrants. They hadn't been in Canada for generations, like in the East. So it was a good I think it would be kind of a cool guide. Although I like the Mackenzie King, and it's not suitable for Catholics.
Exactly.
Do not read.
I love how people used to just look for differences back in those days.
Yeah.
But the other thing as well is like as an immigrant, I kind of was like, I remember our first Canada Day. It was like, what do we do? What do people do on Canada Day? So we went, everyone was like, oh, you just go to your neighbors' houses and you kind of just chill out, or you go to the lake.
Impose and
exactly.
Yeah.
Where's my barbecue? It's like, but we went to Halifax for the parades and stuff, and it was pretty good. It was a fun memory, and we've like as our first Canada Day, and then since then we've done the thing where we just have barbecues with neighbors. We did the parade like once, I think. So it's like I wish there was a booklet for me, so like a guidebook. But anyway, the is very colonial. That's the thing with Dominion Day. It's like steeped in like steeped in a particular kind of Christianity. It's kind of all about the dominion of the British Empire over Canada, and that started to change. So people started to not feel comfortable, like, because like you're saying, Craig, like people were coming here from America and like Ukrainian influx and people from China as well. Canada was changing. It wasn't just a British colony anymore, and the idea is that Dominion Day didn't reflect what Canada was becoming.
Yeah, I actually have a really good story from one small town in Manitoba. If I can jump in. I believe it was called Melita, and it's
Jesse, you never have stories actually related to what we're talking about. So go ahead, Craig.
All right. It was in a community called, I believe, Melita, Manitoba. And there was a lot of American immigrants and then a lot of Canadian immigrants. So because July 1st was Canada or Dominion Day and then July 4th was Independence Day, they would actually almost come to blows with, which flag was going to be flying around that time. And so you'd have the Red Ensign go up, and then like the Americans would come in and pull it down, and they'd throw the American flag up. And there'd be times where like a Dominion Day celebration would come to blows where people are fighting, Americans and Canadians to decide, who exactly is going to be celebrated here before they finally decided like the first 2 days are going to be the Red Ensign, and then the next 2 days where it falls on Independence Day is going to be the American. So it's kind of like what you were talking about with, all trying to figure out exactly American, Canadian, what are we, what are we celebrating? Do we celebrate our homeland? Do we celebrate our new place?
Yeah. Meanwhile, people from a small rainy island are going, no, it's our, we own it. It's ours. So
cool.
From like the 40s, they started taking the national government, like the federal government, started taking the word Dominion out. And also, if you're from Quebec, you probably don't have a strong affinity with the British Empire. just historically speaking. And so there was a lot of pressure from Quebec as well for them to kind of change what Dominion Day was, because they were being forced, it was like, didn't feel like it was representative of that part of Canada either. Jesse, have you frozen or have you died? You froze.
Just taking it all in.
So when Trudeau came to power in Ottawa, and also because of the rise of the Parti Québécois in the 70s, there was a lot of pressure for him to do something about it. And the Liberal Party had already been calling it Canada Day anyway. They stopped calling it Dominion Day and just chose to call it Canada Day since the 50s, because they wanted to get rid of British heritage symbols in Quebec anyway, so that they could embrace more Canadian stuff. And then what actually happened... What are you doing, Jesse? Everything's shaking.
Just getting comfortable. That's fine.
So what actually happened is they tried to get a bill through to change it to Dominion Day in the 70s, and it just wouldn't go through. Like the Conservatives were blocking it. They couldn't get an agreement on it, and eventually they actually changed it by using like a little bit of like subversion. They kind of tricked Parliament into changing Dominion Day to Canada Day. So I've got what is one of my favorite looking. I'm about to show you a clip of like the news coverage of when that happened, and pay attention to the very high tech news studio I'm about to show you. If you're a listener to this and you can't see what I'm showing, I'll put the clip on our social media. But it's essentially a very retro news studio reporting on what happened.
Has been trying to rename the July 1st holiday. They wanted to change it from Dominion Day to Canada Day. Last week, the Liberals managed to get a bill through the Commons that accomplished that. They thought their problems were all over, but they may have just begun. Jason Moskowitz reports.
Once the country got its own constitution, the government pushed for Canada Day. But on July the 1st, it was still Dominion Day. The Prime Minister didn't make the speech he planned. He didn't make any speech at all. It's July the 9th. July 1st had come and gone. It's a hot Friday afternoon. It's very hot and it's very late. There are less than 20 members in the House. The Liberals try to get a private member's bill through.
An act to amend the Holidays Act.
The bill was passed. Dominion Day became Canada Day in 5 minutes. The few Tories in the House allowed it to go through. That night, the Prime Minister was in Kingston. Though he and 260 other MPs missed the vote, he made the announcement.
The National Holidays Act was changed so that the 1st of July for evermore would be called Canada Day.
He looks so tired and hot.
He looks like he's just drained. That was so weird.
Monday, July 12th. The Tories who missed the vote complain loud and long.
It's a sneaky, arrogant way of governing the country.
The House Leader said he's pleased it happened, although he wasn't there when it happened and that he didn't see the bill. And perhaps that's why the bill is considered so simplistic, so incomplete. There are only 3 paragraphs. The original bill, the one the government couldn't get through, is 3 pages, detailing all the statute changes to make Dominion Day Canada Day. The private member's bill contains none of them. Some people in the Senate are saying the bill will probably have to go back to the House of Commons to be amended.
I love all the retro stuff.
Yeah, it reminds me of like the architect in the Matrix movies with his wall of TVs.
Yes, yeah.
Except like really retro.
Luckily, he was a lot more succinct in when he was talking than the architect. I can't even remember one thing that architect said. It was so insane, that speech. It was like...
Right? Did you ever see the Saturday Night Live spoof with Will Ferrell as the architect?
I haven't seen that, no.
It's very funny. Yeah. Anyway.
So so that was it. They did like, I don't understand parliamentary procedure. Jesse, I know like probably that part of that video bored you to death.
I can't spell parliamentary procedures. Parliamentary.
I can't even say it. I've forgotten how to say it. There we are. Anyway,
right.
But like that's not something we cover a lot on our podcast. Is the nitty gritty of how politics work because, well,
because it's fucking
I think Jesse
boring.
would quit. Jesse would quit. So basically, yeah, they waited till it was quiet and there were only 20 people there, forced the vote through, and then pissed off a lot of people. A lot of people who were still like seeing Canada as having strong links to the old British Empire in the UK, pissed off about it because it was kind of, I mean, it was, if you take the issue away, it's a pretty underhand tactic to kind of like do something like that. And it looks like it was just drawn, somebody just typed it out quickly.
Right.
Yeah, it seems like it was very rushed.
It's like
crayon on a napkin sort of
like,
thing.
how many people are in there? 20. Quick, go and like just type a new law. Like
how hot do they look? How hot and annoyed do they look?
Exactly.
Yeah, I was really surprised by Trudeau because I'm used to like seeing him very dynamic, and it just seemed like he just got off like a flight from like England or something and landed, and he's just like jet lagged. And he's like, I just want to go to sleep.
Whatever. What's it called?
Fucking Canada now. Okay. So
he
let it
looked
go.
really. I mean, it was a big announcement for him. He looked like he just did not give a shit. He was just too tired.
Not at all. Exactly. Like, at all. You guys can call the country whatever the fuck you want. I just want to go to bed.
So what happened was then is that the sorry, I just lost track of my notes then. So the idea was that this new Canada Day incorporated different factions of Canadian society into holiday performances, and it would like symbolically incorporate everyone. And it wasn't just about white Anglo identity, which is what Dominion Day was kind of derivative from, that it could also include Francophones, Ukrainian immigrants, indigenous people. Like the idea was, it was like, hey, everyone, like this Canada Day is this, Dominion Day was that kind of thing.
Oh, that's kind of nice.
It was about, it's about going like, and it was like shrugging off the colonial days essentially, which, as you can imagine, pissed off a lot of people.
Oh yeah, well they'd be pissed off no matter what. I mean,
right?
Like when we were switching to the metric system, the progressive conservatives lost their minds for like years over it. But we don't care now, and it's kind of like with Canada Day. It's a big news story now. We're like, I thought it was Canada Day for like a century. Like no one would have thought. Like when I was 3 years old, we were still using Dominion Day.
Yeah, that's weird.
It's just
I mean, this was only in the 80s that it changed.
Yeah.
And then also, like, so the idea was, you still, you can still celebrate your British connections, but it's also celebrate French culture and all the other hundreds of ethnic groups that make up Canada. However, like we said, a lot of people were pissed off. So the Globe and Mail in the mid-90s did a Bring Back Our Dominion Day campaign. And they had T-shirts that said "Bring Back Dominion Day." And this guy called William Thorsell, who was, I think, must have been a columnist or a journalist there, kind of sold the shirts and tried to start like a national campaign. And in the idea,
what was his reason?
He wanted to promote a dialogue about Canadian identity.
Okay. What was to him? What was
I have no idea.
Entailing?
I guess he was just trying to cause trouble. I think. Maybe it's like
trying to sell shirts.
Debate,
it sounds like
debate me. It's like one of those people. And also, when Stevie Harps, young Stephen Harper,
young Stevie Harps,
friend of the show, when he's never been on the show, but when he became an MP, he actually started one of the things he did as a young MP was to start trying to get a private members bill to change it back to Dominion Day. And go, no, actually,
of course
everyone was wrong.
It's Stephen fucking
Everyone was
Harper.
wrong. We should ignore all those other 100 ethnicities. We need to go back.
And we're not a Dominion, so why don't we go back to Dominion Day?
It's like,
we haven't been a Dominion for decades, but let's keep calling it that and just confuse people repeatedly for the next 30 years of why we call it Dominion Day.
Exactly. It makes me wonder why TD isn't rebranded. I guess.
I think because we call it TD, we don't really say Toronto Dominion.
Kind of like Kentucky Fried Chicken rebranded to KFC so they wouldn't have fried in their name.
But they still do.
Make it sound more healthy.
They still do, though.
They call themselves Kentucky Fried Chicken. I thought they literally rebranded to just be KFC.
F still.
No, but it's no longer. It's not fried. Isn't in the name anymore. It's literally KFC. It doesn't stand for anything.
Like we know fried's in there, but they don't say it in
they don't
commercials
say
or
it.
anything.
Yeah,
If like Adolf Hitler referred to himself as a Hitler, you'd still know what was going on.
AH.
Anyway, so there was also.
This is our show, Craig. This is our show. We'll dive off into Kentucky Fried Chicken and Hitler in the same
all
fucking
too
paragraph.
familiar.
Okay. This is
I live near. Do you have Popeyes? Do you have Popeyes in Alberta?
Yeah, just a few. They've kind of only
They
started to come
opened
out here.
one in Halifax, and it's not far from my neighborhood. And you could not drive past that area because people were queuing up for hours just to get their first taste of popcorn chicken.
I used to live in Regina, and a Fuddruckers came in, and everybody lost their minds. And it was like line up around the block to go
What
to
is a
Fuddruckers.
Fuddruckers?
Sounds
like a special bedroom move.
I've never been to Fuddruckers, but the only thing I remember of Fuddruckers is that movie Idiocracy, and you see the sign of Fuddruckers change over time from Fuddruckers to Buttfuckers, and that's the only thing I know about Idiocracy or about Fuddruckers.
Fuddruckers does sound like a bedroom move, a special bedroom move. Yeah, I'm gonna do the Fuddruckers move now, honey. Don't move.
Put my back out doing a Fuddrucker.
You don't want to get hurt
again.
again. No, not the Fuddrucker.
So,
all right. Speaking of Hitler,
Hitler.
continue.
No, okay, yeah. Well, I was speaking to Stephen Harper, but anyway. So Harper's sentiments were echoed by another Tory MP called Brad Trost from Saskatoon, Humboldt, and he said this in Parliament in 2012. I do not support the elimination of Canada Day, but July the 1st also needs to be known as Dominion Day once again. So it'd be like a double holiday. So Canada Day in brackets.
Why does it need? I don't get it. I don't understand this guy's obsession.
I don't know.
Bring
It's
it
a
back.
mistake to try and preserve the future. It is a mistake to try and preserve the future by destroying the past. Doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't.
You'd have to know a bit about Brad. He was also one of the few conservative MPs who was insisting that the party keep its definition of marriage as the union of a man and a woman. So he's very much in the past. So yeah, I'm not surprised by that at all.
Sounds like Brad is married to the past. So it's breaking his own definition. So he, on July the 1st of that year, Trost stood before a crowd of celebrating citizens in Diefenbaker Park. I didn't know Diefenbaker had his own park.
I didn't know
he's adored in Saskatoon. There's Diefenbaker Bridge. There's everything to do with Diefenbaker there.
I want to go there.
That's sweet.
But ironically, he didn't build the bunker there.
No. There's a statue of him as a kid too, selling a newspaper to Wilfrid Laurier because of this stupid story that probably isn't true.
What stupid story that probably isn't true?
He wrote in his memoirs that he was selling newspapers when he was 10 years old at the corner in Saskatoon, and Wilfrid Laurier was doing a trip across Canada because an election was coming. And so in his memoirs, he says that he came across the prime minister and sold him a newspaper, and then spent 10 minutes talking to Wilfrid Laurier about the government and politics and stuff like that. And it's like, there's no way that the prime minister is going to stand here for 10 minutes. And then he ends it with saying, I'm sorry, Mr. Prime Minister, but I have to get back to work. There is no way that this has happened. Maybe he did cross paths. They were in the same region at the same time. Maybe he did sell a newspaper. But if you know Diefenbaker, he didn't tell anybody this until his memoirs.
If
seems
it's
like
the
something
same
he would have
memoirs, then he also didn't mention his wife, who he was married to for many, many years, as if she didn't exist, right? So, he likes to bend the truth a little bit.
There's a statue there. I think Pierre Poilievre actually went there and did one of his walking things on video at the statue. And so, anyways, Saskatoon loves Diefenbaker. There's everything is named for Diefenbaker there.
Is Poilievre still making those videos? Do you know?
Which ones?
I think so.
The close-up ones when he walks.
His Rick Mercer type videos where he's walking and talking.
I did see one of
I'm a Canadian, and because of that, I have certain rights that I demand this country.
Have you noticed?
And he just starts foaming at the mouth.
I don't know if you've seen it. He's got Polyev for prime minister, and he's got this patch, but it looks like that he chose a graphic designer who creates like craft beer brands or something. It's kind of got this weird, almost like it's very millennial kind of. Is almost like,
and the four is like super small, so it more or less just says Pierre Poilievre, Prime Minister. It's yeah.
But he wears that patch on his clothes now as well. I noticed it's like a badge.
Oh my God.
She got a tattoo on his face,
just on his forehead.
Yeah, PP for P.
So there's a Diefenbaker statue, but it's him as a child. Find that bizarre.
Mm-hmm. With him, like I believe it's like him handing up a newspaper to Wilfrid Laurier, and it's supposed to be at the spot where this thing happened. You know, I think he did meet him. I just don't think that like you told the prime minister you have to get back to work selling papers. The prime minister's not going to stand there just listening to this kid talk to him about politics.
Maybe he was just a really annoying kid. You can get rid of him.
Yeah, just follow him down the street, talking to him.
Exactly. Asking, can you sign this, please? Kind of thing. So
yeah, exactly.
So Brad, also on July the 1st in Diefenbaker Park, where we now know there's a statue of young Diefenbaker. Maybe that'd be a good Canadian TV show, The Adventures of Young Diefenbaker.
Like Young Sheldon?
Also,
Young Diefenbaker?
They had the Indiana Jones TV show about when he was younger as well.
So like Young Diefenbaker, where he's getting his start in the paranormal. He's learning about seances and how to contact
that's
the
the wrong
dead
prime minister.
No. This is perfect actually, because you can make a twist on it. Because in the First World War, he couldn't fight because he got hit by a shovel. So you twist it so that he gets hit by a shovel, and it allows him to see ghosts. You've got a story right here.
It was Diefenbaker that talked to the dead, wasn't it?
No, that was King.
Mackenzie
you're
King.
right. It was Mackenzie King.
Someone hit him with a shovel, so he couldn't go to war.
He got hit with a shovel or something. Somebody hit him with a shovel. I don't know, but he didn't go to war.
Was that like a favor from a friend? So hit me with a shovel so I don't have to go to war. Like,
very well might have been.
I mean, there's a lot of. Is it Chevy Chase? He pretended to be gay so he didn't have to go to Vietnam.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Really? Wow.
Which is crazy that wasn't that long ago. That you could just like
no.
It's like, physically you're fit and you're pretty handsome and you're really good on Saturday Night Live, but I'm sorry, there's no way you're good in Vietnam. So anyway, he said in this park, Happy Dominion Day, Happy Canada Day. And he said, I'm not too shy about my preference for Dominion Day. I'm not a royalist by any means, but he just enjoys the connection to history. I like the acknowledgement to Canada's past, adding that he finds the name Canada Day bland.
It's the name of the country.
The word day and Canada. do you know
what's bland? The day or the Canada
Canada
part?
He thinks Canada Day is bland and maybe it's too obvious.
It is bland. It's not creative. It's literally the least creative title we could have for a celebration day for our country.
I gotta disagree there, because back in 1946, when they were looking to like make Canada Day instead of Dominion Day, one of the suggestions was the National Holiday of Canada, which I feel is way more boring.
Oh, that's way more boring.
National.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Well, those the choices.
That was what they wanted to call
Holiday
it.
McHoliday face. They should have come.
The officially sanctioned holiday celebration, day of celebration for Canada, the country known as
We should
Canada.
do a competition. Rename Canada Day, and then, that you'll piss if they renamed it again, something new that was more interesting. Will that piss off the Canada Day people and the Dominion Day people, because they've almost been pushed back in the queue even more.
Yeah, it's all about, what we saw with the passports, erasing history. Anytime you change something, somebody loses their mind.
I quite like the new design of the new passport, but I don't know do you see any of this, Jesse?
I haven't seen it.
So there were important like historical moments in the Canadian passport, like World War One, I believe. Terry Fox. Yeah, a bunch of stuff like that, and they replaced it with kind of idyllic artwork of like kids fishing. That kind of thing. Everyone lost their well, not everyone. Some people lost their shit.
I don't know. I can understand wanting to keep historical memories on a passport rather than just random art of children. That's like I could see that argument, fighting for that argument.
Oh yeah, for sure. But it was more that they were arguing that it was erasing history, which is,
I mean, okay.
Traditionally, passports are for travel and not
inertia.
educated.
True. Yeah. All right. No, that's fair.
People do get they get really petty about passports. So in the UK, they used to have blue passports, and then because of EU membership, they changed to like a dark red. And then one of the big sells of Brexit was, you'll find blue passports again. We'll change it back to blue, which they did. But now no one can go anywhere to Europe easily with those passports. It's like it's the color they wanted, but it's a shit passport. So so anyway, so now when you're celebrating Canada Day, you can, if you want to, you can acknowledge the past and you can look back on Dominion Day and think about it, or you can just look forward at modern Canada, I guess. So what are you going to do, Jesse? Are you going to celebrate Dominion Day or Canada Day?
Neither. I'm going to just make a whole bunch of pancakes and watch Star Trek and not talk to anybody.
Nice.
I'm going to call it Jesse's Big Breakfast
Jesse's
Day.
Big Breakfast Day.
That's my own celebration. Yeah, you're all welcome to join me.
I thought you said you could join on your own. I don't want to ruin your plans.
I can expand. I can change.
How about you, Craig?
I can change the name. I don't mind changing the name to Jesse and Reese's and Craig's Big Breakfast Day. That's fine.
Yeah, I was going to say, I kind of like this idea of chilling, watching Star Trek. Yeah, I mean, this sounds pretty good.
Right.
But I feel like maybe I should call it Dominion Day all day on Twitter just to see if anyone says anything.
What an
about
experiment.
That's good.
Yeah. Just call it Dominion Day all day.
Provocative history.
But I don't know. Yeah, exactly. That gets the dialogue moving. No, it's always been Canada Day for me, so I'll be celebrating Canada Day.
Weirdly, a bunch of Welsh family are flying in to celebrate Canada Day. So, yeah.
Really? You can't get rid of your family, man. Jesus, they just follow you
to
everywhere.
Canada. They just turn up.
What's Wales Day?
St. David's Day.
St. David's Day. We covered that.
We did a St. David's Day special. So St. David.
That's right.
Craig, you're an expert on Canadian history. I don't expect you to know about St. David, but he's the patron saint of Wales. And he did things like heal people, and he was given a speech, and not everyone could see him, and the ground rose up and lifted him up on a hill. It's supposed to be one of his miracles he did. The ability to
just to get taller,
the ability to summon almost like a stadium environment with better acoustics at will, and then also so what happens is everyone in Wales basically dresses up as a stereotype for Wales. So there's like.
I was wondering where you were going to go there.
Yeah,
I was like, whoa.
So they dress up as you can be a coal miner if you're like, or you're like a rugby player, or like, I don't know, like a druid with a staff, or like girls typically would wear, I'm sure, like traditional Welsh clothes. And then but what happens is in Wales, everyone wants it as a national holiday, but London won't allow Wales to have it as a national holiday. So.
That sounds way better.
Yeah, seriously.
Like, I mean, there's so much like cool history to that. You've got like you're dressing up as things. We just have fireworks and cake, and
we have shitty
maybe
fireworks.
A parade.
Let's face
yeah,
it. We have really shit. Well, here in Halifax we do anyway. Like they are, they get worse every year, and you feel obliged to look at them. Right? Like, as all your roommates and all your friends, what are you doing? Let's go see the fucking fireworks. Yay. And you get out there and it lasts for 3 minutes and they're pathetic. And you're just like, what am I get, okay. Yay, Canada Day. And it's like, anyway.
Maybe we should do a map of Canada's worst Canada Day celebrations. You're like Narcity does those 10 places you need to go, and, we should do the 10 worst places to celebrate Canada Day. So.
I'm going to
enjoy getting all the letters and everything.
I'm going to nominate Alert for number 1. Alert is in the Northwest Territories as the northernmost community in Canada with a population of something like 30. A remote, sort of bleak, Arctic. You can call it a community. It's a research station with a small airstrip and a handful of buildings thrown about, and people live there year round, and it's cold and desolate and depressing and dreary. And I'm guessing their Canada Day celebrations are either the worst or the best.
Well,
like
they don't need
just
fireworks
get
because of all
fucking
the northern
shit,
lights.
right? Yeah, and like, all right, break out the moonshine we've been saving all year. Like, science
is vodka distilled from penguins. No, they don't get penguins in the north. That was a bad comment. Sorry.
If you think that
Seals.
if you think that your Canadian community has the worst Canada Day celebrations, email us at CanadianPoliticsIsBoring@gmail.com and or leave us a
Send us
speak pipe.
pictures.
Send us
Yeah,
videos.
exactly.
Send us saucy videos.
So, yeah, thank you so much for joining us, Craig, and talking about Dominion Day, or the people who killed Dominion Day, and what everyone now knows as Canada Day. I think there's been...
Oh, that's a good title.
Who Killed
I like
Dominion
that.
Day. Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
that is the
that's
title.
good.
I wrote in my
What is
notes,
the
you won't
title?
believe me, but I did.
Oh.
But yeah, it was, and also I guess I wonder if anyone will ever bring it up again. Maybe we've just reminded some people and given some people some thought to take action on it, but I don't know. Hopefully, I don't know.
Well, maybe we should go back to what Brad suggested and call it 2 different days. I mean, that won't be, because it's already kind of like 3 days, because Quebec celebrates what do they celebrate? Fête. I forget what they celebrate, but Quebec, like Montreal, that's like moving day, is July 1st.
I've heard. Yeah.
Yeah. That's like the big day to move. So it's already like a bunch of different things. So why don't we just throw Dominion Day in there and just confuse people even more?
Or why do they alternate? Every year is a different holiday. Just make up new holidays.
There you go. We
It's like
just
Trudeau.
solved it. You know, we brought unity
Exactly.
to Canada.
Trudeau's there with like a hat and like it's like a wheel of fortune and speedboat. Like,
Which will it be?
That'll be perfect.
Awesome. Craig, thanks so much for doing this with us. This has been fun.
Yeah, I was happy to.
Yeah.
So, Craig, and also we should do
Okay.
the thing where if our listeners is unlikely they haven't heard of your senior podcast, because you're usually on the front page of Canadian content apps and like Apple platforms. But if people want to listen to your show, where can they find you?
Well, they can find me on every podcast app that's out there. It's Canadian History X, and it's EHX. And I've got 500 and some odd episodes about Canadian history. Oddly enough, I've never done an episode on Canada Day, but
you have now.
Yeah.
We did one together. Yeah.
I have now, exactly. Yeah, so you can find me on all apps, and then I'm on Twitter, Craig Baird, CraigBaird, if you like being inundated with historical facts all day long.
Sweet. That almost sounded rehearsed.
I
got it written up on my wall.
Yeah, it's just tattooed on your arm for whenever you need it.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool, awesome, and thanks for listening. Everyone this is going out on Canada Day, so however you celebrate, have a great Canada Day. Or if you're in love with the past, you celebrate in Dominion Day. Happy Dominion Day.
Goodbye.
Bye.
I didn't know what to say.
I'll end it now. Okay.